you describe Nigerian politics? You know, you have been in there, you know what you went through. It's not everything you can come out and say in public. Now that you know all of this, how would you describe Nigerian politics, its challenges, and what solutions will you prefer? Just briefly, let us know.
Well, I think the issue with the Nigerian politics is something that is known to almost everyone.
Okay.
We have a process of electing leaders that does not truly permit for credible people to emerge as leaders. And I'm saying this because we don't seem to look at the content. You know, you would hear people say, this person is good, but, and I heard that several times. People say, you're good, you've got the heart, you've got the passion, you've got the ideas, but, you know, so it simply means that as good as you are, it is not good enough.
Okay.
There's something else people are looking for. They're looking for, you know, something to grease their palms. They're looking for, you know, some money, at least to take out of it. And I must say that this issue of looking for money is coming from many years of building a culture, you know, of acquiring the right of the voter. So it makes that, so the moment your right is acquired, whoever buys it does not owe you anything because he has paid for it already. And so he goes to do just as he pleases. So in the end, there is no infrastructure on ground. In the end, the many issues that, you know, we are battling with are still very, very much active and on ground. In the end, we are still revolving around the circle. So what that means is that it makes the voter now, going forward, to come to the conclusion that good governance is not possible. So anyone running for office would have to pay his dues. You know, so if a good person comes out and is trying to sell his ideology, trying to sell, you know, his manifesto, and trying to get people to see it from that perspective, they will listen. But in the end, what do you have to offer? You know, so that has now become a major issue for us, a very, very major issue for us. So you see the worst of us leading us, leading the rest of us. So you see people who have no business leading us, just being, you know, in the forefront of leading us. And that for me has become a major issue with our polity. So we must find a level playing field where the best of us would have the opportunity to emerge, you know, on the basis of your content, on the basis of the purity of your heart, on the basis of the fear of God. It's very, very important. And the people must understand that. And again, of course, we all have a responsibility to play in this. Sometimes when we talk about this, the temptation is for you to just focus on those who are in leadership position. But hey, the problem is, if you are selling your conscience, then you're contributing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. You have said a lot about Nigerian politics. And people all over the world have heard you. Now, let me ask you this very important question. In the society today, will you say the problem of Nigeria is the government or the people?
Well, I like to naturally take responsibility.
Okay.
And it's a culture I am building. It's a culture I intend to sustain. It's a culture I am doing everything possible to pass down to my children. And it is called the responsible culture. I think we have been playing the blame game for too long. Is it government? Is it the people? And so on and so forth. But then, for me, leadership is taking responsibility for the problems that you did not even create. And I think in this case, rather than look at who is the problem, and can we all take responsibility? Can we step out? Can we begin to fix the wrongs? Sure, leadership is very, very important, and I am of the view that everything starts and falls on leadership. And so while the leadership bears a very, very huge part of the issue, as it were, we, the followers, must also understand our responsibility. And if we're able to genuinely answer, if we have lived up to expectation, I'm saying this to simply say that, yes, leadership has got problems, followership also has got, its own responsibilities. And I give you an example. Something happened just very close to my office. The road leading to my office is paved, it's a tarred road. And somebody came with a bulldozer, to demolish a building, I guess. Now, by the time they were done, I think because of how tight the space is, they were trying to get the low bed to reverse back, and just so that they would pick the bulldozer. But I think the guys driving, the operators of the bulldozer were quite impatient, and then started to use that heavy duty equipment on the very fragile tarred road. It's not designed for those kind of weights, and because it has a chain, it naturally began to crack the road. And then my friend stepped out and he saw them and he had to rebuke them. Then he called my attention, and when I stepped out, I was angry. And the base of my anger is that we sit here and we blame leadership. We sit here and we blame leadership. But look at you. With a responsibility, you should have thought, if I do this, it will affect this road. And at the end of the day, he left us with a big scar. And that, you can tell, is the beginning of the damage of that road. And I was quite very, very strict with them. And I told them, we can't let this pass. People must learn to take responsibility. So the natural thing, Nigerians would do is that they will break the law and tell you, I beg no vex. You hear all those kind of things. Yeah. And they began that with me. I said, no, you must understand that if we have to fix this nation, we sit here and we complain about Buhari. We sit here and we complain about governors. But the point is this, what are you doing? You have a chance. Now look what you have done to this road. If this road goes bad, which of course you have already started the process, do you know when government will look in this direction again? And I told him it is possible the road to your place, your house, is a bad one. He said, absolutely. Are you enjoying it the way it is? So if government does something, we must own it and ensure that we protect. So you see, that's where the role of the citizen comes in. We should do everything possible not to be found wanting. Once we do that, then we can criticize government with the whole of our hearts if they fail to meet up to their own responsibility.
Okay. I like the path which you've taken. Nigeria has suffered a lot of crises, a lot of challenges. But let me call out this top 4 for us, and then you will tell us, if you had the power, if you were in the right position and had the authority, where will you start from? Banditry, kidnapping, corruption, and bad governance. This 4, I think, has eaten deep into our nation. If you were in the right place and right position, with the right authority, where will you start from?
Well, they are one and the same. I can say that with every sense of responsibility. They are intertwined, they are interconnected, they all come from the same source.
Sorry to interrupt you. Let me understand what you're saying and let the viewers out there understand what you're saying. Bad governance, banditry, corruption, and kidnapping.
Yes.
You mean that it's in the government and the government is in it, or the people are in it, and the people are in the government, are they all in, the system that you're talking about right now?
Well, what I mean by they are one and the same, I still simply means these various elements that you mentioned, banditry, corruption, bad governance, kidnappings, they all come from one source. They are all a chain reaction to just something that we're not getting right.
Okay.
That's exactly what I mean. And so if you go on, you would list just more than 4, all emanating from the failure to handle just one thing. And the one thing that I think we have failed to truly look at is justice. Justice. That word justice is very, very important. That word justice is what births order. That word justice is what causes anyone who goes out of the law, to be punished. And so if you know that there is a consequence for your action and there will be no compromise, you will do everything possible to avoid it. So a system that does not have a just system, or that has permitted its justice system to just serve the interests of few, you would naturally have a chain reaction. So corruption is there.
Okay.
What are we doing to tame it? The only antidote to corruption is justice. And if you don't, it will snowball into several other things. That's why we have banditry. And even in the banditry now, how do we tame it? We have refused to call it terrorism or terrorism. And then, people are terrorized. The number of people that have been killed from banditry, you can't even mention, you can't even come up with a figure, because it happens almost hourly. And then we have people being kidnapped. People cannot travel freely. People are completely terrorized. And yet we have refused to call it because of injustice. Because it affects some people. Because some people are known to be in the trade, of this, evil called banditry, that we have refused to call it by its name. So if you truly look at these issues, if I was in the position, what I would do is to ensure that we have a justice system that does not give a damn who you are, where you come from, which language you speak, which religion you belong to. We have a law, for God's sake. And this law is supposed to guide us. This law is supposed to ensure that we have order enshrined in our system. But we put it aside because it does not favor us. So I would say here that unless we go back to ensuring that we have a leadership that is just, a leadership that will put justice, the justice system, in the forefront, we are not done listing the problems. They are not just 4. We will continue to have, new kinds of problems, evolve. Just like we have had what we call the banditry now, or kidnappings, or herdsmen.
Sorry, I was even about to ask you about, religious crisis and segregation. You hear about IPOB, and then you go to the West, you hear that they want to carve out their own country.
Exactly.
But I feel what you have said about justice will be the trick.
Absolutely.
To solving these issues.
Absolutely.